our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has presided over an assessment meeting of the Algerian Space Agency to examine its status as well as the modalities of development of its activities. The Communication Minister Mohamed Al-Agab has said that the radio remains the main source of news for over 4 billion people, announcing the launch soon of a highway radio on the occasion of the celebration today of the World Radio Day. As international pressure intensifies, the Israeli army has pursued its bombardments of the Gaza Strip, killing and wounding scores of people. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. First in our news, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has presided over an assessment meeting of the Algerian Space Agency to examine its status as well as the modalities of development of its activities. A press release from the Presidency of the Republic said that the meeting decided to provide the Algerian Space Agency with the most modern technical space tools adapted to cutting-edge technologies and to mobilize financial means and human resources which are qualified in high-level and cutting-edge specialties among graduates of the Institutes of Higher Education of the Mathematics and the National Higher School of Artificial Intelligence in light of a proactive vision by 2040 in collaboration with Algeria's strategic partners. The meeting took place in the presence of the Prime Minister, the Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, the Director of Cabinet of the Presidency of the Republic, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Post and Telecommunications, the Advisor to the President of the Republic in charge of affairs related to defense and security, the Director General of the Algerian Space Agency, and the Head of the Geography and Remote Sensing Service of the National People's Army. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has had a telephone conversation with the President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Mr. Mohammed Ould Sheikh Al Ghazouani, during which they discussed issues of common interest and the planned visit to Algeria of the Mauritanian President. A press release from the Presidency of the Republic said that the President of the Republic congratulated on the occasion his Mauritanian counterpart on his appointment as candidate of the North Africa region for the presidency of the next summit of the African Union. This choice honors the states and people of the entire region, said the President of the Republic, assuring his Mauritanian counterpart that he will always find Algeria at his side to carry out his noble mission. The Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Salah Goujil, was charged by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, to sign the Book of Condolences following the death of the former Chilean President, Sebastián Piñera. Mr. Goujil wrote in the Book of Condolences that it was with great sadness and deep affliction that we heard about the death on February 6, 2024, of the former Chilean President, Sebastián Piñera. He added that with his loss, Chile loses an eminent statesman who contributed to the enrichment or to the enshrinement of the fundings of the democratic and development process of this country in a crucial situation of its history, leaving behind him a path marked by several achievements. He concluded that this painful circumstance, in the name of the President of the Republic, of the people, of the Algerian government, and his name, he offered his sincere condolences to the family of the deceased and to the friendly Chilean people, assuring them of his deep compassion. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Lounas Magraman, paid a visit to Turkey where he co-chaired in Ankara the first session of the Algerian-Turkish policy dialogues with his Turkish counterpart, Mr. Ahmed Yildiz, at the Foreign Ministry there. On the occasion, the two parties examined the state of the privileged relations existing between the two countries and the means to strengthen bilateral cooperation as part of conclusions of the implementation of this joint declaration of the second high-level meeting of the Turkish-Algerian Cooperation Council, signed in Algeria in November 2023. Mr. Magraman also exchanged views on several regional and international issues of common concern with his Turkish counterpart. Prime Minister Nabil Arbawi has chaired a government meeting devoted to examining a number of presentations relating to several sectors of activity. According to a press release of the Prime Ministry, the presentations are related to the sectors of national education and religious affairs and endowment, as well as to monitoring the level of implementation of the provisions of the law relating to the exercise of the union right and examining the most efficient approaches to employ highly qualified university graduates in the future. As part of the implementation of the instructions of the President of the Republic pertaining to completing the promulgation of regulatory texts relating to investment, the government meeting examined a preliminary draft regulatory text setting the conditions for the transfer of shares in the capital of companies under Algerian law operating in the strategic sectors, in line with the provisions of Article 52 of the 2020 Complementary Financial Law. The government also heard a presentation on the measures taken to ensure the continued implementation of the national policy in the field of pharmaceutical industry and the availability of medicines in public health structures. And here in Algeria, preparations are underway for the holding at the end of the current month of the 7th session of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum. The Algerian Radio is accompanying the preparations of this event with several programs, interviews and portraits being broadcast in relation with the forum. The Director General of the Algerian Radio, Mohamed Baghali, tells us more about the role of the National Radio in promoting the event.
We have
started the promotion of this highly important and highly strategic global event for weeks by offering to our audience special programs, interviews and portraits. We have sent many journalists on the ground to make reports on several gas sites in Algeria. Algeria has a lot of experience in this field. The Algerian Radio offers a very relevant and ambitious program in that sense that it sent 6 journalists in full immersion to 6 gas capitals, namely Lagos, Doha, Cairo, Tunis, Moscow and Nouakchott. We will receive at least 4 international experts who will contribute to enriching the programs of the National Radio and going beyond the grid of the National Radio by participating in 2 conferences.
You are listening to the Director General of the Algerian Radio, Mohamed Baghali. Some 15 international organizations bringing together media and producers have pleaded in a call broadcast on Tuesday that the radio remains accessible to as many people as possible while laying emphasis on the car where radio must be essential. The signatories, who include the European Broadcasting Union, the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union and the World DAB Forum promoting digital radio, an association of producers and broadcasters, as well as UNESCO, affirmed on the World Radio Day that radio constitutes a compass in a changing world. They said they are strongly convinced that the radio must remain accessible to the greatest number of people, whatever the place and method of reception, through terrestrial radio broadcasting networks still necessary for the majority of listeners in the world, and online access just as democratic and open. Communication Minister Mohamed Al-Agab emphasized on the occasion that the radio remains the main source of news for billions of people around the world, stressing the importance of endowing cars with terrestrial digital radio receivers. Let's listen to him.
Up to now, the radio remains the main source of news for over 4 billion people, so it enjoys an important position. I am personally endeavoring to launch in the future the highway radio. It will be a radio that accompanies citizens in the highway from the east to the west, and the citizens won't need frequencies or such. There will be continuous broadcasting on the highway. We are seeking to submit a memo to the Ministry of Industry so that the cars manufactured here in Algeria and the imported cars will be endowed with the technique of receiving terrestrial digital radio.
The Communication Minister, Mohamed Al-Agab, made the statement in the western province of Tlemcen, which is hosting the World Radio Days celebration in Algeria this year. In an interview with Radio Algeria International, the Chief Executive Officer of the African Union of Broadcasting, AUB, Grégoire Njaka, spoke of the imperative of using innovative technologies and artificial intelligence to further develop radio programs.
Aucune radio aujourd'hui ne peut dire qu'elle peut vivre en autarcie.
Today, no radio can say that it's self-sufficient. We must pool our efforts in terms of production, and those which are likely to develop even further are those which recourse to innovative technologies, artificial intelligence, and many other options. So, it is the beginning of a process that will be positioned as the royal pathway for the production of good and beautiful programs, and as the world is beset today by wars and other plagues, the radio is a tool of information and sensitization.
And it's worth recalling that the World Radio Day is an international day celebrated on the 13th of February each year. The day was proclaimed by UNESCO on November 3rd, 2011, during its 36th conference. To the Middle East now, where international pressure intensifies and the Israeli army has pursued its bombardments of the Gaza Strip, killing, wounding scores of people. The news agency Wafa said more than 130 people have been killed and 123 others wounded for the past 24 hours in airstrikes that hit notably the central towns of Deir al-Balah and Nusayrat, as well as in the central part of the territory. According to the UN, 1.4 million Palestinians, representing more than half of the territory's population, have been displaced by the conflict raging for 4 months now. This came as the State of Palestine urged all the countries and international institutions to intervene urgently to put an end to genocide carried out by the Israeli forces in Rafah. It was quoted by Wafa as saying that all the countries must take action to put an end to the bloodshed and respect their obligations, notably regarding the Geneva Conventions and in fulfillment of the emergency measures ordered by the International Court of Justice. In this connection, French lawyer Gilles Devers, who leads the lawyers panel which submitted a complaint to the International Court of Justice, ICC, accusing Israel, or the International Criminal Court, ICC, accusing Israel of perpetrating a genocide in Gaza. Meanwhile, the Palestinian... So, as I said, the ICC accusing Israel of perpetrating a genocide in Gaza. Let's listen to Gilles Devers.
The statements of the Algerian president, which have shaken consciences worldwide, have made it a priority, and obviously the prosecutor is doing what others haven't done. He is investigated on the basis of this plan and our request, which is an arrest warrant. You know, we are going to make reproaches to the CPI and the judges, who could probably do more. They would certainly do more, but given the number of Arab leaders who reacted in favor of Palestine, the prosecutor will ask you the questions, saying that the CPI counts 125 states. Only 5 states lodge a complaint. Therefore, the remaining 120 others made statements on the genocide in Gaza, but didn't do anything against it. There is really a significant political weakness. Even if legally we managed to conform the complaint, but it requires more efforts than that of the immediate neighbors.
You were listening to French lawyer Gilles Devers, who leads the lawyers panel which submitted a complaint to the International Court or Criminal Court, ICC, accusing Israel of perpetrating a genocide in Gaza. Meanwhile, the Palestinian Foreign Ministry urged for a clear and transparent role to be played by the UN and the international community to provide protection to the Palestinian civilians and displaced and to allow in humanitarian aid. Earlier, King Abdullah II of Jordan called for an immediate and lasting ceasefire in Gaza and rejected as unacceptable an Israeli attack on Rafah, where, as he put it, the humanitarian situation is already unbearable. The Jordanian king made his call during a meeting in Washington with U.S. President Joe Biden, who stressed the necessity to ensure the protection of the civilians who are exposed and vulnerable in Rafah. That's the end of the news bulletin. Time now for our programs. First, the summit of the heads of state and government of the gas exporting countries forum is to be held from February 29 to March 2nd. The summit constitutes an important platform for discussions and consultations among the forum's member states. The details with our colleague Asia Bakar in this report, which will be followed by the Health Magazine for this week. And we'll meet you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of our news bulletin. Thank you.
The energy minister affirmed that the upcoming gas summit is an important global event that will pave the way for a sustainable, secure and prosperous energy future for member states to make the gas industry contribute to ensuring energy security and supporting the energy transition for the long term. It will also give the opportunity for the heads of state and government to discuss global challenges in the field of gas with the presentations on the development of the gas markets in light of the geopolitical changes of the gas industry. The summit will provide high-level strategic guidance for the forum by adopting the Algiers Declaration, which guarantees the commitment of the member states to cooperate among each other to face the current global geopolitical challenges and guarantee the common interests of the member states. The upcoming gas summit will also contribute to reinforcing international gas partnerships, as reiterated by the Energy Minister several times.
The Summit of Gas Exporting Countries is a major event because it is an important platform to reinforce international partnership and discuss the current challenges in the field of energy. It is a world event in which Algeria will host the heads of state and government, heads of delegations and key players in this field from around the world.
Meanwhile, the Energy and Mines Minister Mohamed Arkab said yesterday that Algeria's growing cooperation with hydrocarbon-producing African countries such as Nigeria reinforces its potential as a regional energy hub. He shed light on Algeria's remarkable resilience in the unstable world gas market by positioning itself as a safe and trustworthy gas supplier. Algeria's growing cooperation with African gas-producing countries like Nigeria for the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline project strengthens her potential as a regional energy hub. At the geopolitical level, Algeria's location in North Africa makes it a strategic local supplier for Europe, and it also managed to gain new customers in Central and Eastern Europe, which was highlighted by the energy minister several times before.
Algeria is one of the main partners to Europe in terms of providing it with energy, particularly natural gas. Algeria has always been and will always be a safe and trustworthy energy exporter, notably in the field of gas energy and natural gas.
Meanwhile, the Sonatrach Group is seeking to strengthen its production capacities by investing abroad as part of partnership contracts in the field of research and hydrocarbons production in neighboring countries such as Libya, Mali and Niger, with an investment that amounts to $442 million between 2024 and 2028. Regarding the preservation of the environment, Algeria is working on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, a commitment that allows for the promotion of natural gas as a transition energy and the maintaining of its competitiveness. Meanwhile, the short time taken by Algeria to ensure the gas supply gives it another advantage, particularly for the Mediterranean countries. Algeria's reserves and recent gas discoveries offer promising prospects and reassure investors and importers on the long-term reliability. By combining natural resources and a long-term strategy, Algeria is positioning itself as a baseline gas partner.
And welcome to this new edition of your weekly program, The Health Magazine. Heart Failure Awareness Week continues to gain attention throughout the world as more and more people are living with this medical condition. The goal of Heart Failure Awareness Week, which coincides this year with the week going from February 11 to February 17, is to raise awareness, increase public knowledge, and provide a better understanding about this chronic condition. Heart failure occurs when the heart muscle does not pump blood as well as it should. When this happens, blood often backs up and fluid can build up in the lungs, causing shortness of breath. Certain heart conditions gradually leave the heart too weak or stiff to fill and pump blood properly. These conditions include narrowed arteries in the heart and high blood pressure. Proper treatment may improve the symptoms of heart failure and may help some people live longer. Lifestyle changes can improve quality of life. Try to lose weight, exercise, use less salt, and manage stress. But heart failure can be life-threatening. People with heart failure may have severe symptoms. Some may need a heart transplant or a device to help the heart pump blood. Heart failure is sometimes called congestive heart failure. What are the symptoms of heart failure? The most common symptoms of heart failures include shortness of breath. This is more common during activities. However, it may occur when you're resting or come on suddenly at night. Fatigue. You may feel tired all the time, especially during daily activities like walking, shopping, or getting out. Edema, swelling. You may experience a fluid buildup in your body, especially in the legs, feet, and ankles. Feeling faint, weak, or lightheaded. Because the heart cannot pump enough blood to all your body's tissues, it prioritizes blood supply to your heart and brain, which can leave your body feeling tired. Other symptoms of heart failure may include sudden weight gain, a loss of appetite, bloating, confusion, memory loss, or impaired thinking, persistent coughing, heart palpitations, abdominal swelling, and protruding neck veins. Heart failure is a chronic condition. This type of condition requires ongoing, lifelong management. However, you may experience acute heart failure, which is when symptoms come on suddenly. This is sometimes referred to as heart failure exacerbation or flares. It may happen as an initial symptom when heart failure is diagnosed for the first time, or it may happen on top of chronic heart failure when your symptoms worsen. What are the types of heart failure? Since heart failure may affect either side of the heart, the types of heart failure are right-sided heart failure and left-sided heart failure. Both types lead to the activation of hormones and the nervous system, which causes the body to retain fluid, leading to symptoms of congestion. Left-sided heart failure occurs when the left ventricle in the bottom left of your heart does not pump blood out efficiently. Heart failure in this ventricle prevents your body from getting enough oxygen-rich blood. There are two types of left-sided heart failure. Systolic. This occurs when the heart muscle weakens and loses its ability to contract. A weaker left ventricle cannot generate enough force to pump oxygen-rich blood through the body. This may cause blood to back up into your lungs, leading to fluid buildup. This is known as congestive heart failure. Diastolic. This occurs when the heart muscle stiffens and impairs the heart's ability to relax. It prevents your heart from filling enough oxygenated blood, resulting in less efficient blood flow to the body. Systolic heart failure is more common in males. Diastolic heart failure is more common in females, though. Right-sided heart failure. The right ventricle is located in the bottom right side of your heart. It's responsible for pumping blood to your lungs to collect oxygen. Left-sided heart failure usually triggers right-sided heart failure. The accumulation of blood in the lungs makes the right ventricle work harder. This can stress the right side of the heart and cause it to fail. Heart failure occurs when your heart is unable to pump an adequate supply of blood to the body. It may require ongoing treatment to keep your body's major functions working properly. Now, what causes heart failure? Heart failure happens when your heart muscles get weak or stiff. This may then block or reduce blood flow to the heart. The most common cause of heart failure is coronary artery disease, CAD. It happens when fatty deposits build up in your arteries, reducing the supply of blood and oxygen to the heart. Other conditions that may increase your risk of developing heart failure include heart attack, inherited heart disease, a condition that weakens the heart muscle like cardiomyopathy, heart inflammation like myocarditis, high blood pressure, also called hypertension, arrhythmia, which is an irregular heart rhythm, viral infection, congenital heart disease, diabetes, obesity, pressure in your lungs, called pulmonary hypertension, and overactive thyroid, also called as hyperthyroidism. Certain behaviors may also increase your risk of developing heart failure, including smoking, drinking alcohol, eating foods high in fat or cholesterol, and not getting enough physical activity. So the doctor will start by performing a physical exam and assessing your medical history to check for signs of heart failure. They may also use an echocardiogram. This test is the most effective way to diagnose heart failure. It uses sound waves to create detailed pictures of your heart. An echocardiogram can help a doctor evaluate the damage to your heart and how it's functioning. Other steps to help diagnose heart failure or its underlying causes include chest X-ray, heart MRI, nuclear scan, cardiac catheterization, coronary angiogram, stress test, and Holter monitoring. How is heart failure treated? Treating heart failure depends on the severity of your condition and the type of heart failure you have. Early treatment can improve symptoms fairly quickly. However, you should still get regular testing and follow-up with a heart care professional at least every 6 months. The main goal of treatment is to increase your lifespan, prevent complications, and improve your quality of life. Medications can treat early stages of heart failure. They can help relieve your symptoms and prevent your condition from worsening. Certain medications are prescribed to improve your heart's ability to pump blood, reduce blood clots, reduce your heart rate when necessary, remove excess sodium, and replenish potassium levels, reduce cholesterol levels, reduce adverse hormones and reactions that occur in your body that can make the heart weaker. You should speak with a doctor before taking new medications. People with heart failure should avoid some medications such as non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, as these can worsen fluid retention in heart failure. Surgery. You may require surgery if you have heart failure. Surgery options include bypass surgery. A surgeon takes a healthy piece of an artery or vein and attaches it to the blocked coronary artery. This allows the blood to bypass the blocked, damaged artery and flow through the new one. Transplant surgery. Heart transplants are used in the final stages of heart failure when all the other treatments have not worked. A surgeon removes all or part of your heart and replaces it with a heart from a donor. Now, what are the complications of heart failure? Untreated heart failure can eventually lead to CHF, which could be life-threatening. This is when blood builds up in other areas of your body. You may experience fluid retention in your limbs and organs, such as the liver and lungs. Additional complications of heart failure include stroke, kidney dysfunction, liver dysfunction, thromboembolism, arrhythmias like ventricular arrhythmias, and heart attack. What are the serious signs of heart failure? The most common signs of heart failure include fatigue, edema or swelling, shortness of breath, exercise intolerance. For someone with heart failure, any progression of symptoms is serious. Contact your cardiologist if you notice worsening symptoms. Some particular concerning symptoms include worsening shortness of breath, chest discomfort, lightheadedness or dizziness. What is the difference between heart failure and congestive heart failure? Congestive heart failure is another term used for heart failure. It emphasizes the congestion that occurs due to a backup of blood flow, which causes fluid retention, swelling, and pulmonary edema. What are the takeaways now? Heart failure happens when your heart is unable to pump enough blood throughout your body. It's typically a chronic condition that requires ongoing treatment to prevent complications and increase your quality of life. Your outlook and treatment of heart failure varies depending on the type of heart failure you have. Early treatment is key in preventing the most serious forms of heart failure. And with this, we come to the end of this week's edition of your program, The Health Magazine. Do join us next week for a fresh edition of your program. Until then, stay tuned to Radio Algeria International, and bye-bye for now.